Hi everyone. Today I'm talking about my second 6 weeks of keto. I've already done 6 weeks. I'm now on my second 6 weeks of keto. I'm probably on like week 7 right now. And what my goals are, what I need to learn, what I need to work on, and where I'm going from here. So my first 6 weeks of keto, I'm gonna put a link somewhere up here to that video talking about what that was like, what I learned, what I suggest, things like that. This video is kind of what my goals are for the second half of the first 12 weeks. First, my name is Stephanie Newton and I am a wellness consultant. I have a wellness consultant practice from right here in my home in Florida. I see clients from around the world over video chat. All right, so let's get started. My second 6 weeks of the ketogenic diet. So one thing I want to do is transition to grass-fed meats and free-range animals and things like that. I'm searching around at the local grocery stores, trying to find those great prices, thinking about looking into Butcher Box, comparing the prices to the local grocery stores and see if that's worth it. I noticed that, I might have to make some compromises. I wanted to get a pot roast the other day, and I wanted it to be big enough to feed myself and my 2 boys, both of them teen or almost teen, big eaters. And in order to get the right size pot roast, in order to feed everybody in my house, it would have costed me at least $30 to get a grass-fed one, if not more. And I was like, I just don't know if I can justify $30 for a pot roast. So, things like that, I may compromise and not do grass-fed, but make sure I'm ordering meat from farms where the animals are humanely raised. That's important to me. So, but I am buying grass-fed ground beef. That seems to be a pretty easy way to get grass-fed beef through the ground beef. And there's the issue of grass-fed versus grass-fed and grass-finished. So I'm kind of looking into the labeling to find out what all that means. I know that a lot of people recommend getting grass-fed and grass-finished, which means they're fed grass their whole lives, not just a portion of their lives. So that is something I'm looking into as well. And I'm just eating clean, like when I buy my eggs, I'm not getting the store-bought, the generic brands, because I know that those come from farms where the animals are caged and they're just there to lay eggs and that's their whole life. I don't like that. I don't agree with that. And I have heard another thing I want to research further. I've heard that the cage-free and free-range eggs, that's a lie. So I've heard that you're supposed to get pasture-raised eggs. And I got some the other day. I got a dozen for $4.99. And it even says on the label that each chicken gets 108 square feet of space, which I don't think they're held in a pen, but if you extrapolate how many chickens there are per area, that's the average of how much space they get per chicken. So I want to look more into that. It's just something I feel called to do, is to make sure I'm supporting farms that are humanely raising and handling these animals. But there are times that I can't afford like $1,000 a month on meat. So there's that. So another thing that I'm going to be working on in my second 6 weeks of keto is to learn dairy-free recipes. As I mentioned in my first of this series of, my first 12 weeks of keto, in my first video, I mentioned that I tried dairy recipes. I have been historically dairy for a long time. I tried to add some dairy into my diet just to have a little variety on this ketogenic diet. It didn't work out. It worked out for a few days, but then the cumulative effect after a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I was crashing. I was fatigued. I had muscle weakness. I had brain fog. It was really, really bad. And I quit dairy, and within 24 hours, I snapped right back to having energy and stuff. So I had to quit dairy, and that was only a couple weeks ago. And so I'm kind of left with starting from scratch, learning new recipes and learning how to incorporate other things instead of dairy. One thing I'm doing, and this leads into my next point, is I'm experimenting with coconut. I am nut-free as well, which makes it hard to do this diet as well. I can't have any nuts. And in the past, I have reacted to coconuts, but I decided to try it. And I've been now about a week, maybe a week and a half, using coconut oil, coconut yogurt, coconut creamer. I just bought some coconut cream and flour. And so far I seem to be doing well. If anything, I might actually be getting more energy from it, which, kind of makes sense with the medium chain triglycerides that is found in the coconuts. So I'm working on that. I'm praying that I'm not going to develop an intolerance, because that can happen when you really gorge on a particular food. I might actually order a homeopathic remedy to help me to not develop an intolerance. I'll update you guys on that and let you know how that goes. So that is number 3, the third thing I'm working on in this 12 weeks of the ketogenic diet. The next thing I'm going to be working on is developing a group coaching program. So my background is in nutrition and exercise physiology was my undergrad. And I also studied homeopathy. I went to homeopathy school. And so a lot of this sort of comes natural to me. I mean, it is the most overwhelming diet I've ever started, but I'm not as overwhelmed as a lot of the people that I see on the group chats and the groups on Facebook and things like that. People seem to be overwhelmed, confused, and that kind of took me by surprise. But then I thought to myself, well, I did study nutrition in college, so I guess that makes sense that I guess I have a level up as far as my knowledge base, and then it was easy for me to go up from there. I'm obviously still in the experimental learning phase. Probably, I keep saying 12 weeks because I feel like it is like a 12-week thing before you kind of have this completely down pat. So I am going to be working on a group coaching program. You can check my website. I'm hoping to launch that in April of 2020. We'll be talking about not just the ketogenic diet, but low-fat eating in general, anti-inflammatory eating. So no matter what diet you choose to use as your framework, let's make sure that you're doing it in an anti-inflammatory way. That's my goal with this program. And also just getting fit in general. So that's in the works. The next thing is strength training. The first 6 weeks, I spoke about this in the first video, I did not work out, and that's because I was so busy researching recipes, cooking new recipes, just learning my new hunger signals and my new relationship for food. I've learned so much. I also did a video about emotional eating, which I'll put up somewhere. I have to get used to which way to point here. I think it's up there. I've learned that I'm an emotional eater more than I thought. And this ketogenic diet, for some reason, has helped me learn really why and what triggers me to do that. And within the framework of the rules of the ketogenic diet, I've been able to abstain from doing that emotional eating when I want to. So check out that video. I talk a little bit more in depth about that. So I wasn't, I had to learn all of these things. So I wasn't strength training. I wasn't exercising at all. And actually, I had been hearing in my research that exercise, you take a little bit of a hit in the exercise department in the first 4-6 weeks of keto, because your body is not quite fat adapted yet, so it hasn't quite learned how to efficiently use fats for fuel. But you're also depriving yourself of glucose. So it's kind of your body's kind of in this gray area where exercise makes it kind of difficult to have endurance, the endurance and the strength that you need in order to do it. So when I heard that, I thought, I'm not going to beat myself up over not exercising right now. I'm just going to forget about it. I'm not going to exercise. I'm just going to focus on the diet aspect of this and get this down, learn these recipes, etc. And that's what I did. And then about 5 weeks into the diet, which was a couple weeks ago, I started exercising. What I found, which was interesting, is I experienced no soreness. I went full on right into strength training. I even started at a higher weight I would normally start when I'm going back to the gym. And I was able to breeze right through the workout. I did not experience any soreness in the days after. I did experience a little bit of fatigue, not as much as I normally would. I did experience your typical level of increased hunger though. And it took me 24 hours to figure out, why why do I want to snack all day? Like I found myself wanting to snack all day long and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, why am I so hungry? What's going on? I thought maybe there was like a hormone fluctuation going on. And then I realized, oh yeah, I just started working out. This is so typical. So I had to adjust I had to learn to do this diet with an increased appetite. So that took a couple days getting used to. And actually, as I've gotten, I think I was growing new muscle those first few sessions of exercise, and now I'm sort of maintaining. So I might increase later on, but right now I'm sort of maintaining the weights that I'm doing, and I've noticed, I think my appetite has come back down again. So it might just have been in that growth phase that my appetite went way up. So that's something I'm kind of learning to do with the ketogenic diet. I also have 5 to 10 pounds more that I want to lose, probably 5. I don't know yet. I'm just going to see where my body, like what looks right, what feels right. I lost 7 or 8 pounds on the first 2 weeks of this diet, and then I've been in a plateau ever since. So I don't, those last 5 pounds are always hard to lose no matter what you're doing. I might be eating more fat than I should, to be honest. I'm being very cognizant about, I want to eat enough fat to have enough energy, but I might be eating too much. So I might toy around with, cutting back on that. There have been a few days where I found that I was totally glucosing myself. I was drinking like coconut creamer that I thought had no carbs, and then later to find out it has like 4 carbs per teaspoon or something crazy like that. And I was being really, crazy about using it. So there were a few days there that I totally had too much glucose or fructose or whatever, too much carb in the time that I have been in a plateau. So I'm learning to really check those labels. The other day I bought some cacao powder and I just thought it was 100% cacao. I thought I had read the label. I didn't. I got home, I made something with it and ate it. And then later, for some reason, looked at the label and realized there were 27 grams of carbs in 4 tablespoons. And I think I had 2 tablespoons, so it wasn't a huge disaster, but the first ingredient was cane sugar. Like, what in the world was I thinking? So, I've been checking labels, but I think after like 5-6 weeks, I just got a little lazy. I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing, No, I messed up. And so I went back and I got the pure cacao that I think it has 0 carbs. I can't remember, but that's the only ingredient in there, the pure cacao, which is cocoa, but it's pure. It's not processed cocoa. So, yeah, so all of that. And then I'm going to be experimenting soon with carb cycling for a few reasons. First of all, I want to know what it would be like to cycle in a meal of carbs every few days. I want to see if it changes my energy level. My energy level is great, but I want to see if it changes anything. The first few weeks, I actually found myself losing a lot of hair, and I got concerned. And I've heard that is a common thing on this diet, to lose hair. And I got concerned, but it seems to have stopped. But so I have a history of my thyroid being off, and I don't take medicine or anything for it. But I want to make sure that I don't mess my thyroid up, which I've heard can possibly happen with this diet. I've also heard it can help you, but I don't know. I guess it could go either way. And I've heard that cycling and carbs can help that aspect of your health. I've also heard that if you do very, very low carb for a very long period of time, it can affect your serotonin levels and depression can set in, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to experiment with cycling and carbs for that reason. And the other reason is it might help my exercise, my strength training routine a little bit. I don't know. That's what I've heard. I think I feel great when I'm strength training, but of course I'm not like a big bodybuilder. I'm not looking to bulk up. I'm just looking to kind of trade some lean muscle tissue for the fat, these last 5 pounds if I can or whatever. So yeah, so I'm going to experiment with that and I'll let you guys know how that goes. I think what I'm going to do is just have like 1 carb meal every 3 days at night. and that will be like a sweet potato. It will be maybe some very low carb pasta. Maybe it will be some quinoa. I might splurge and have a small portion of buttered popcorn, heavily buttered popcorn. So these things are not keto, but I want to see what happens. I've even heard of people carb cycling and then they drop weight because their body, it sort of gives the body permission to lose weight. It's like, okay, you're not in starvation, you have access to carbs, you can drop these last 5 pounds. It's okay, body, go ahead. Get rid of that booty. You know, well, for me, it's the tum-tum. You can let it go. You can shed it. You're safe. So let's see if that happens. I'm really curious to see what carb cycling will bring to the table in terms of health and gains and things like that. So, all right, that is it, guys. So if you're interested in the group program that I'm developing, follow me on my website. You can get on my mailing list. You can follow me on social media. I'll definitely be, blanketing social media with that announcement when it comes up. And I hope you guys have a great first 12 weeks on the ketogenic diet. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Bye-bye.